Hey, it's Marshall Tingle with your Superior Ag Insurance Ringside Report for last week, the week of December 6th. So we saw some really nice runs of cattle go through the stockyards this past week. Numbers were up. We're getting right here towards the end of the year. You've got about 2 weeks left to market your cattle, so those cattle runs were up. But now here's something to notice. You hear everybody talking about cattle numbers, and we've been talking about cattle numbers ourselves. Cattle numbers this year as compared to last year are down and down drastically. Some instances we even saw as much as $800 head less this year over last year, and it's pretty much statewide. It wasn't like just one barn was going to be short those 800 head. It was pretty much across the board that numbers were down from last year. But the cattle market's still holding good as we come to the close of the year. Your feeder cattle this year or this week, we're going to be about steady to $2 higher, and that's going to be all the way across the board, both on your steers, your heifers, and your yearling markets. But now, towards the end of the week, back there around Thursday, we actually saw some places where there was probably a $2 to an $8 increase on your lightweight cattle, just on your 3s, your 4s, and your 5-weight cattle. There was an increase on the back side of the week. The front half was still pretty steady to 2 higher, but we did see an increase on the back. Now, your yearling market is still holding very strong. Still a high demand on these big steer cattle, just because they're, I think, in short demand. So let's go over your numbers real quick and talk about how cattle traded. Now, as far as your feeder cattle, let's talk about your steer calves. Your 3 to 4 weight steer cattle, we're going to be about $1.70 to $1.80, and in some instances, we even topped out at $2. So that's a really nice sign there. Now, your 4 and your 5 weight cattle, $1.60 to $1.89 was going to be your price range, with about $1.72 catching your average there. Now, in your bigger 5 weight steer cattle, $1.40 to $1.85, with that average being somewhere right there about $1.62 to $1.65, somewhere in your mid 60s. Now, we did see a lot of loads of cattle come through the barns this past week, and a lot of your big yearling steers, everybody's trying to make the end of the year cutoff on those, and the numbers on these were pretty outstanding. So let's talk about some loads we had this past week. These will be your steer calves now. Start off 78 head of these cattle. These are going to be blacks and Charolais crosses, 675 pounds on the average at $1.62. Another set of them, 75 head of these. These are blacks and Charolais crosses as well. 736 on the average at $1.63 even. Now, here going up here, 67 head of these. These are going to be your black and mixed. Check this set out now. 67 head of these, 772. This is probably the highest selling low we've had all week. 772 at $1.6630. So an outstanding trade on those cattle there. Now, here's another big string of them. These will be your 8-weight cattle, 140 head of these. These are going to be all black steers, 817 pounds on the average at $1.63 even. Here's 61 head of these. These are going to be all black steers. They're going to be 854 pounds on the average at $161.50. Then another big string of these, 130 head of these, so about 2 loads of them. These are all blacks at 894 pounds on the average at $160.10. And we go in here to your big 9-weight cattle. Now, these are going to be Charolais crosses and reds. No black to them, just straight colored calves. 56 head of these altogether, 908 pounds on the average at $156. So that's not too much of a discount for a Charolais cross or a red steer. You figure they're $894 there at $160.10. About $4 back at $908, being Charolais crosses and reds at $1.56, $4 difference. That's too much. That's not too much of a discount if you ask me. Not for Charolais crosses and reds versus a straight set of blacks. Now, we did have some big 1,000-weight steer cattle this week. 50 head of these, all black steers, 1088 on the average at 143.75. So a nice trade there. Now, your heifer cattle market was going to be pretty steady all the first half of the week, but once we got back there towards Thursday, we saw a big increase in these heifers, and these numbers here will really reflect it to you here in 1 second. So here's your heifer market, 79 head of these heifers. These are going to be black heifers, 663 on the average at 150 even. Now, 72 of them, these will be a little bit bigger heifers, all blacks as well. 706 on the average, 149.90 got those bought. Now, here's the big set on these will be your heavy 7s. 67 head of these. These are going to be all black-hided heifers, 784 pounds at 147.80. So not a bad trade on your heifer cattle. Like I said, it was a little bit softer during the first half of the week, but this is going to be the highlight reel. And these cattle did trade back towards the end of the week, and they were a little bit higher than the rest of them. Now, we did have 2 loads of Holstein cattle traded across the state of Kentucky, and they traded quite well. Here's one set of them is your lighter steers, 61 head of these, 672 pounds on the average at 116.50, and then your bigger steers will be 101 head of these, 854 pounds on the average at $1.10 1/4. So a nice trade on all your cattle and your loads across the board. Now, here's something to keep in mind. We're coming right here towards the end of the year. You've pretty much got this week left as a solid, steady, consistent week. Then the week of Christmas itself is going to be a little bit different. So you're only going to have, some barns are only going to be open Monday and Tuesday, and some of them aren't even going to be open until the beginning of January, just for the holiday season. So if you are in the neighborhood and the market to market your cattle or get some cattle bought, I would get after it this week, because I think supply and demand is going to be a little bit softer the week of Christmas, just because nobody's going to be wanting to start cattle right there at the holiday season. They want to spend time with their families instead of unloading trucks. So just pretty simple there. But like I said, if you want to market your cattle, I would recommend doing it this week. If not, hold them to the first of the year, just the timing of Christmas and everything. But the market's still holding good. Everything's looking good. If you've got any cattle on a livestock risk protection policy, if you've got any of those coming to an end, be keeping an eye on your CME feeder cattle indexes. They'll be coming to you this evening. And if you're interested in buying some of these light cattle and putting an LRP policy on some of your lightweights going in, probably wouldn't be a bad idea. We've been seeing everything going on with the board, and fall numbers look really, really strong back there. So if you're interested in putting an LRP policy on some of your lightweight cattle, I highly recommend it. And if you have any questions about that, reach out to us. Call Ian Thomas at Superior Ag Insurance, 859-613-2453. Keep up with us here on social media, on Facebook or on YouTube. Get on our email list or check us out online at www.superioragins.com. Like I said, holler at us if we can do anything to help you with any of your ag insurance needs, and I'll see you next week.